Dear listeners, before we get started, drop a quick hi in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Also, if you have any suggestions for us to make the channel better, please let us know. Now let's start with the story. I'm Nolan, 32, male. Been married to Alice, 29, female, opinionated, for 3 years now. And up until, I don't know, last month, I genuinely believed we were one of those smug has-it-together couples people roll their eyes at. You know the type. Matching mugs, Sunday morning farmers market trips, sex life not entirely dead. Sure, we had our little spats, like when she insisted throw pillows were essential to adult living, or when I dared to buy 2-ply instead of 3-ply toilet paper, but nothing dramatic. At least, that's what naive Nolan thought. Quick background. Alice used to work in marketing at some mid-sized place downtown. Corporate enough to suck the soul out of you, but not big enough for free coffee in the break room. She made decent money, had her little latte and presentation hustle going on. Then about a year into the marriage, she started doing that thing where people talk through gritted teeth and say things like, "I'm just so burned out," or "I need to find myself." It's like the corporate version of screaming into a pillow. Naturally, I did the supportive husband thing. I told her, if you hate your job and want to quit and figure your life out, go for it. I figured that bought me at least 3 months of goodwill and maybe one guilt-free Xbox purchase. Spoiler alert, massive miscalculation. But anyway, we'll come back to that mess later. So last Friday night rolls around. Alice tells me she's having her girlfriends over for dinner. Nothing new. This happens maybe once a month, like a recurring sitcom episode I'm not allowed to be in. It's usually the same cast, Kathy, Linda, and occasionally this one other girl whose name I can never remember. And at this point, it's become a point of pride not to ask. Let's call her Discount Hannah. They get together, drink overpriced wine with labels that say things like notes of cranberry and soil, eat way too much food, and talk about whatever it is women talk about when guys aren't around. Which, based on what I overhear, is apparently other women who date exes of their friends, waxing, astrology, and the emotional depth of Harry Styles. Riveting stuff. Honestly, I don't mind the dinners. Alice seems happy, and I get to flex my culinary genius, which is really just heating up a jar of Rouse marinara sauce, dumping in a concerning amount of garlic, and throwing in red pepper flakes like I'm casting a spell. Boom. Famous pasta sauce. And by famous, I mean 3 women once said, "Ooh, this is good," with their mouths full. Michelin star, please. The girls show up around 6:30, all carrying bags that probably cost more than my monthly car insurance. I spend about an hour in the kitchen, pretending I'm on Top Chef, domestic edition, while they're in the dining room getting increasingly loud and emotionally unstable. You know it's serious when the wine volume goes up and the "oh my god, no she didn't" start flying. When I bring everything out, they're in the middle of dissecting some grade, a soap opera involving Kathy's friend, who apparently dated another friend's ex-tragedy of the century. Truly Shakespearean. I tried to follow, but about 3 minutes and I realized I would rather eat dry pasta than listen to this Real Housewives fanfiction any longer. I set the food down like a damn waiter who doesn't get paid, asked if they needed anything else, napkins, therapy, perhaps a ceasefire agreement, and then went back to the kitchen to clean up and disappear. Alice always says her friends appreciate that I'm not hovering around trying to be part of their conversations. So there I am, in the kitchen, domesticated husband mode fully activated, loading the dishwasher like some kind of unpaid appliance technician, wiping down the counters with the enthusiasm of a man who once had dreams. The usual background noise of wine-fueled laughter and whatever Bravo-level drama they're dissecting tonight is going strong. So I'm half listening, half zoning out, thinking about whether I should add chili flakes to the leftovers or just embrace blandness like the rest of my life. Then, mid-scrub, I hear something. My name. Now look, I'm not the eavesdropping type. Okay, I am the eavesdropping type when my name comes up, especially in a room full of people who drink wine like it's oxygen and gossip like it's a competitive sport. At first, it's nothing, just Alice laughing, and I figure it's something dumb, probably making fun of how I think folding a fitted sheet counts as a spiritual achievement. But then I hear it, clear as day. Alice says, and I quote, because these words are now branded into my cerebral cortex. Honestly, girls, Nolan's just my practice husband until I find someone better. I literally stopped mid-swipe, hand in the air, holding a dirty plate like I was auditioning for Kitchen Statue, the musical. My brain hit pause. I mean, I was so stunned I didn't even curse. And that's saying something, because I once said shit during a church baptism because I dropped a pacifier. At first, I thought, nope, definitely misheard. Probably said precious husband, or package handler, or something else equally weird but harmless. My mind, in full denial mode, started generating alternate realities faster than a Marvel multiverse. But then, Linda, bless her wine-sodden curiosity, goes, "Wait, what do you mean a practice husband?" And Alice, oh Alice, my sweet, wildly unemployed wife, decides it's story time. She starts explaining, like she's giving a TED Talk on strategic marital settling 101, that I'm good for now. Because, you see, I pay all her bills. I do the cooking. I'm basically a home EC project come to life. But she's not going to stay with me forever. Oh no, that would be absurd. I'm just practice. Like the free trial of a subscription, she's absolutely going to cancel the second she finds a hotter, richer version of me who also probably owns a boat. And what really seals it? They all start cracking up. Like belly laughing. Like someone just made a joke about a dog in a sweater or a man who voluntarily gives his wife financial freedom and pasta on demand while she trashes him over gnocchi. Meanwhile, I'm standing there in my own kitchen, holding a plate with remnants of someone's half-eaten garlic bread, wondering if I just had a stroke or accidentally slipped into a parallel universe where I'm the punchline in my own damn marriage. But no, the worst part, worse than the words, was how she said it. So casual, like she was saying, "Ugh, it might rain tomorrow." No shame, no guilt, just an accepted truth, like taxes or the fact that avocados go bad the second you blink at them. She wasn't confessing. She wasn't whispering it like it was scandalous or seeking advice like, "Hey, is it morally bankrupt to emotionally leech off someone I secretly plan to replace?" Nope, she was just stating facts. Like, "Oh, Nolan? Yeah, he's the tutorial level before I start the real game." I set the plate down real careful, like it might explode or something, and just stood there. 2 full minutes. Maybe more. Just trying to process what I just heard. My wife of 3 years, the same woman who quit her job 2 years ago to find herself, and somehow found herself at home binge-watching murder documentaries and buying essential oils in bulk. That wife? Yeah, that one. The one I've been supporting financially while she pivots. The woman I cook dinner for every night like I'm running a sad little Michelin-starred restaurant for one ungrateful customer. The one whose friends I've been entertaining in my own house, offering them wine, appetizers, and pretending I don't hear them talking about things that would make Satan blush. She just called me practice. Practice. Like I'm a pair of starter chopsticks from Panda Express. Like I'm the tutorial mission before she unlocks her real-life dream husband who presumably owns a yacht and doesn't use a Swiffer in pajama pants. And it's not just the insult, it's the delivery. So casual, so breezy. Like telling someone you bought the wrong brand of oat milk. I'll be honest, for a good few seconds, I seriously considered marching right in there, yanking the wine bottle from Kathy's hand, and asking my darling wife what exactly the hell she meant by practice husband. Because, apparently, I missed the memo where my entire marriage was a trial run. But something stopped me. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was the dawning realization that if I caused a scene right there in front of the giggling harpies, they'd never let anything slip again. And honestly, those accidental slip-ups are all I have. Eavesdropping is my only window into the actual truth of my own relationship. But in that moment, I wasn't thinking in strategy. I was just sitting there, feeling like an idiot. Like a man who spent years baking garlic bread for someone who thinks he's basically a glorified starter kit. How long had she been thinking this way? Since the wedding? Before that? Was I already practice while saying my vows? And how long had her friends known? Were they in on it this whole time, clinking glasses while plotting her eventual upgrade? Was I the only one who thought this marriage was, real, genuine, not a training montage? Anyway, they finally left. Laughed their way out the door, probably to go group text about what wine pairs best with passive-aggressive betrayal. I waited about an hour before going downstairs. Not because I needed that long to cool off. No, I was absolutely upstairs plotting like I was writing a revenge thriller. But I didn't want it to look like that. Gotta maintain the illusion that I'm not a petty, emotionally gutted man with a pasta sauce addiction. When I finally went down, she was loading the last few glasses into the dishwasher, like nothing had happened. She looked relaxed. Happy. That afterglow she always has post-girls' night, like she just got a hit of something deeply satisfying. Probably validation. I asked her straight up, what the hell was that comment about me being a practice husband? She blinked. Deadpan. Like I had walked in speaking Aramaic. What are you talking about? She said, tilting her head in that way people do when they're trying to look innocent and just end up looking condescending. So I laid it out for her. Told her I heard everything she said. About me being good for now because I pay the bills. About how she's not planning to stay with me forever. About how I'm basically the pregame snack before the real meal. That's when the act dropped. The confused, wide-eyed innocence just evaporated. Her whole face shifted into that familiar, you're being dramatic again look. And then she said it. Oh, that. Yeah, I said that. Do you have a problem? Just like that. No apology. No. Oh my God, I didn't mean it like that. No rationalization that might salvage my last thread of dignity. Just, do you have a problem? Like I was being unreasonable for not wanting to be compared to a pair of bowling bumpers. I looked at her for maybe 10 seconds. Really looked at her. She was just standing there, arms crossed, brow furrowed. Like I was the one being dramatic for calling out the fact that she referred to me as a stepping stone in her climb to romantic greatness. The sheer audacity of her being annoyed that I had the gall to ask, "Hey, why am I being cast as your financial training wheels?" was impressive, honestly. So I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Nope, no problem at all." And that right there, that's when the planning started. That weekend felt like the longest 48 hours of my adult life. And I once sat through an 8-hour HOA meeting where the biggest fight was over mailbox paint. Alice, bless her manipulative little heart, was acting completely normal. Saturday morning, she's out there flipping pancakes and humming like she hadn't just verbally announced our marriage was a beta version of whatever fantasy guy she's waiting on. She even asked if I wanted to go furniture shopping. Furniture. Like we're nesting, like I'm not plotting an emotional jailbreak with receipts and legal backup. She was talking about planning a vacation this summer. "We should go to Cabo," she said, as if she hadn't just announced to her coven that I was a temporary wallet with a pulse. I'm sitting there, drinking my coffee, nodding like I'm listening, but really I'm just imagining handing her a printout of her quote and watching her try to spin it. Then came Sunday dinner at her parents' house, like always. Nothing says normal couple like eating dry roast chicken while your father-in-law tells the same 3 stories about his Navy days. Her mom asked about work. My work? Obviously, because Alice's job description has been miscellaneous for 2 years, and smiled at me like I'm the golden boy. And the whole time, Alice is playing the role of the perfect daughter and loving wife, complete with hand-holding under the table and fake laughter at my dumb dad jokes. And all I could think about, the entire time, was what her parents would say if they knew their precious daughter was basically planning a romantic trade-in like I'm a used Camry with decent mileage. Would her mom still look at me like I'm the best thing to happen to the family since her new Vitamix? Would her dad still ask if I could help him set up his iPad, like I'm his personal Apple genius? Come Monday morning, I did something unthinkable. I called in sick. Now, you have to understand, I haven't called in sick in 2 years. Not once. Not even when I had the flu and coughed so hard I thought I cracked a rib. But this time, I had bigger things to deal with than drywall and load-bearing beams. So I told my foreman I was coming down with something, which wasn't technically a lie. Betrayal's an illness, right? Then I got in my car and drove straight to my lawyer's office downtown. Yep, I've got a lawyer. Because when you own property and your bank account doesn't automatically trigger a sad violin, you get a lawyer. It's one of those grown-up things you do, right after realizing Tupperware lids have disappeared into another dimension and nobody's giving them back. I learned that one the hard way. My dad got wiped out in his divorce back when I was in college. One day he had a house, a car, a golf membership. Next day, a lazy boy in a rented apartment and visitation rights with the dog. That kind of trauma sticks. So yeah, I have a lawyer. And I walked in, calm as you like, and laid out the situation. Didn't go into too much detail. Didn't need to read him the group chat transcripts of Mean Girls, Marital Edition. I just said my wife had made some comments that suggested she was planning to eventually dip out, and I needed to know where I stood legally. He pulled out my file, flipped through it like a man looking for the Holy Grail, and finally gave me the best news I've heard since Alice decided she was too busy to join my fantasy football league. Turns out, that prenup I insisted on signing before the wedding? Smartest decision of my life. Like, if I had to make a highlight reel of my greatest hits, it'd be 1. Learning to make eggs without burning them, and 2. Forcing a prenup before marrying the woman who now refers to me as Practice. Alice wasn't thrilled about it at the time. Kept going on about how it showed I didn't trust her, and how romantic couples don't need legal protection from each other. But I'd watched my dad get financially mugged in slow motion during his divorce, lose half his retirement, the house he'd spent 2 decades paying off, and end up eating frozen burritos in a 1-bedroom with beige carpets and resentment. So yeah, I wasn't about to make that same mistake just because Alice used to look cute in yoga pants and said she liked my chili. The prenup? It was basic but bulletproof. Anything I owned before the marriage, mine. Anything I earned during the marriage, also mine, unless she could prove she contributed financially. Which, considering she quit her job 2 years ago to focus on her potential, was going to be a tough sell. The house, mine. The savings accounts, also mine. The car she drives to brunch and Target like she's the queen of suburbia, registered in my name only. Even the insurance policies had me listed as the primary, and, in some cases, the only, policyholder. She was basically living in a financial Disneyland, and I was the underappreciated mouse in the costume making it all run. My lawyer, God bless his emotionally detached, dead-eyed pragmatism, sat across from me and laid it all out. Legally, since I was the primary on all our accounts, I could move things around, as long as I wasn't doing anything that screamed revenge plot. No draining accounts overnight or canceling Netflix mid-season of whatever garbage reality show she was addicted to. The key, he said, was to be smart. Calculated. Cold, but not cold-blooded. We spent an hour combing through every single thing with my name on it. Bank accounts, credit cards, insurance policies. Even the stupid stuff, like who technically owned the Disney Plus subscription and whether my HBO Max password was protected by the Geneva Convention. It's wild how financially entangled you become with someone after a few years of sharing a fridge and pretending to like the same scented candles. Most people don't get it. They think divorce is just some courtroom scene with sad piano music and one person moving out. Nope. It's spreadsheets and account numbers and making sure the Hulu payment doesn't bounce mid-breakup. And the craziest part of it all, the sudden realization of just how much control I actually had. Every credit card was in my name. She was just an authorized user, which is fancy bank speak for can spend money, but owns none of it. Every utility bill, gas, electric, water, internet, all tied to my accounts. Every streaming service, every auto payment, every monthly charge for things like yoga apps she doesn't use but swears she will get back into. She'd been living on my dime for so long, she had no idea what a financial foundation looked like anymore. No credit card in her own name. No personal savings. No safety net that wasn't funded by yours truly. It was like I'd married a financially dependent adult baby who drank oat milk and knew her moon sign. That afternoon, I got to work. No fireworks. No red flags. Just subtle moves. The kind of changes you'd only notice if you were paying very close attention, which she never was. I started moving some money out of our joint checking and into my personal savings. Not the whole amount, just enough that it would matter when things eventually hit the fan. I didn't want her to notice and go full dramatic monologue in the kitchen. Then I started changing passwords. Nothing drastic, just a few key accounts. The ones that would matter when the dust settled. And I updated contact info across the board so all the notifications, alerts, and your bill is due emails would come straight to my inbox. To my email instead of hers. The rest of the week, I played it cool. Academy, award level normal. Woke up next to her. Made coffee. Said things like, want almond milk or regular? Like I wasn't quietly setting the stage for her grand financial exit. Alice didn't notice a thing, because why would she? She never paid attention to any of the money stuff. As far as she was concerned, Visa was a magic card, and the bank account refilled itself every month like some sort of enchanted financial cauldron. She never once asked about balances. Never peeked at a budget. Never wondered why we could afford DoorDash 4 nights a week without blinking. She'd just swipe her card and go, like some overconfident wizard yelling, "Expecto Amex," and assuming the spell would always work. So, the next day, I had my lawyer draw up the divorce papers. It took maybe an hour, mostly us sitting there going, nope, she doesn't own that. Nope, she didn't contribute to that. Definitely not touching that. We basically speed ran a legal audit of the entire marriage. And let me tell you, there's nothing quite like watching a trained professional legally dissect your relationship with the same enthusiasm as trimming dead weight off a tax return. By Thursday, I signed the papers. And yeah, I'll admit, it felt weird. Signing your name to something that ends a marriage is kind of like hitting send on a breakup text that cost you 6 figures and 3 years of your life. But it also felt like I was finally driving my own life again instead of just sitting in the passenger seat while Alice played DJ with the manipulation playlist on repeat. 2 days later, I put the final pieces in place. The accounts were locked down. Passwords changed. Legal paperwork printed, reviewed, notarized, and alphabetized. I wasn't just preparing for a divorce. I was launching a full-scale, emotionally detached operation. Mission, clean cut. And the timing had to be perfect. Maximum impact, zero legal blowback. Like a breakup ballet, but with lawyers and frozen assets. You see, Alice has this little Saturday tradition. Every weekend, she meets up with Kathy and the girls at this obnoxiously expensive brunch spot downtown. You know the type. Tiny portions, giant prices, and waiters who look like failed actors. They sit around sipping mimosas, posting filtered photos of eggs, and pretending they invented brunch. Then they wander off to shop for clothes they'll pretend were on sale, but cost more than my monthly car insurance. This Saturday was going to be a little different. It started like all the others. Alice came downstairs at 10:30, dressed like she was about to walk onto the set of a lifestyle influencer's reel. Full hair and makeup like she was preparing to survive the apocalypse, but fashionably. She gave me one of those quick, absent-minded goodbye kisses, barely more effort than I give my phone when I plug it into charge, and grabbed her keys. "Have fun," I said, smiling, sipping my coffee, and watching her drive away in my car, wearing clothes that I bought, carrying credit cards that I pay off every month for the last time. The second her car disappeared around the corner, I got to work. First call, the credit card companies. All of them. I had a list, a very detailed, color-coded list. Took about 15 minutes and way too many security questions. Mother's maiden name? First pet's name? What color was the sadness in your soul when you realized your wife was just biding her time? But eventually, every one of those cards was shut down. Next up, I called the bank. I told them I suspected unauthorized access to the joint checking account and needed to freeze it to protect the funds while we investigated. Technically true. Her access was absolutely unauthorized. As far as I was concerned, she had lost her user ID the moment she called me practice. The whole process took maybe 30 minutes. 30 minutes to shut off the financial pipeline that had been supporting her lifestyle for the past 2 years. I spent the rest of the morning doing what any responsible, emotionally steamrolled adult would do, setting up boxes in the living room like I was preparing for a very sad, one-person version of House Hunters, Exit Edition. I even made a neat little pile of all the paperwork she'd need to start her shiny new independent life. It was basically a starter pack for functioning adulthood: rental listings, insurance info, tips on building credit, and a sticky note that might as well have read, "Welcome to reality, batteries not included." Everything she'd avoided for the past 2 years while I played the role of husband/financial life support, all laid out. Binder clips and everything. I was doing more prep work for her solo life than she probably did for our wedding. Around 1:30, my phone buzzed. First text from Alice. "Hey, can you call the bank? My card's not working." Oh no, not the magic money wand malfunctioning. I ignored it. Obviously, by 1:45, she'd leveled up to passive-aggressive concern. "My card still isn't working." Super embarrassing in front of the girls. Still ignored it. I was in the middle of alphabetizing insurance pamphlets like a middle-aged librarian with vengeance issues. By 2:15, she was officially in meltdown mode. Messages in all caps, as if yelling digitally would somehow undecline her card. "Nolan, pick up your phone. WTF is going on? Answer me right now." Desperation was creeping in, and it had only been, what, an hour without access to my money? Truly, the collapse of a dynasty. Then came the calls. Straight to voicemail, one after another like she was trying to summon me through sheer annoyance. 6 in the next 20 minutes, each voicemail evolving like stages of grief. Confusion, irritation, denial, rage, conspiracy theories, and finally, a sort of credit card-based existential crisis. Then, blessedly, my phone pinged again. Not Alice this time, but Kathy. Queen Kathy. The same woman who cackled at brunch when my wife called me practice. Now sending me, "Dude, Alice is losing it. Her cards won't work and she's flipping out." Ah, karma. Served with brunch and bottomless mimosas. I texted back, all innocence and wide-eyed emoji energy. "Oh no, that's weird. Everything okay?" Kathy replied instantly. "She says the bank is having some issue. She couldn't even pay for lunch. I had to cover her." LMAO. "Yes, Kathy. Banking issues. How odd. Must be Mercury in retrograde. Or maybe Alice's financial access finally realizing I'm not an ATM with a pulse." Then, just like that, the call stopped. I figured one of two things had happened. She'd borrowed money from her friends and was currently passive-aggressively sipping her mimosa like it was made of betrayal. She was driving home at full speed to give me a live performance of The Real Housewives of Financial Dependency, season finale. I bet on option 2, and I was right. About half an hour later, I heard the sound of her car in the driveway, way earlier than usual. Normally she drags out brunch like it's her job, which, technically, it kind of was. But not today. Nope. This was the unmistakable screech of someone whose brunch turned into a budgeting crisis. Then came the car door slam. Not the casual, "I'm home, babe," kind of close. No, this was the full-on rage slam of doom. The kind you only hear in soap operas or when your DoorDash guy forgets the dipping sauce. 10 seconds later, the front door flew open. Alice stormed in like she was ready to sue the sun for being too bright. Hair slightly windblown, heels clicking like angry castanets. And she was already yelling before she saw me. Full volume, no warm-up act. My card got declined in front of everyone. Kathy had to pay for my lunch. Do you know how embarrassing that was? I had to make up excuses about why I couldn't go shopping. She kept ranting. Something about how the bank must have made some kind of mistake, and why didn't I answer my phone when she needed help? Like I was the villain in her soap opera episode of Brunch Gone Wrong. Meanwhile, I was sitting there on the couch, legs crossed like I was watching the weather, divorce papers neatly stacked in my lap, boxes lined up next to me like I'd just finished playing emotional Tetris. I didn't say a word while she kept pacing and flailing and delivering her one-woman off-Broadway production of The Financially Forsaken Housewife. I just let her go until she finally paused for breath, face red, hair slightly frizzed, one heel clicking anxiously against the hardwood like she was about to challenge me to a duel. That's when I said it. Calm. Measured. Like I was ordering coffee. Yeah, I canceled the cards, because you don't need them anymore. Boom. You could see it hit her brain like a buffering error. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then. You what? Now she really lost it. Full tilt. Demanded to know why I would do that. What was wrong with me? And how could I embarrass her like that in front of her friends? Like I'd just pulled her pants down in public instead of ending the free trial of her lifestyle subscription. It was truly impressive. The sheer conviction she had while trying to flip the script and make me the bad guy. For not wanting to bankroll someone who refers to me as practice, like I'm a pair of Payless shoes she's wearing until her Louboutins show up. Then, right on cue, she noticed the boxes. The folders. The stack of envelopes with her name on them. Her whole vibe shifted from angry velociraptor to confused meerkat. She tilted her head, stepped back a little, narrowed her eyes. What is all this? I handed her the papers. It's your graduation packet, I said, real polite. Congratulations, you've officially completed your practice marriage. I swear to God, the look on her face. Worth every overpriced handbag, every unused Peloton login, every brunch bill I'd ever footed. Absolute silence. Then shock. Then confusion. Then full-on panic. As if the realization hit her that the lifestyle she curated on my dime was about to come crashing down faster than her Insta likes after this news hit the group chat. And then it started. The emotional Olympics. First up, denial and deflection. It was just a joke. You seriously think I meant that stuff? Come on, Nolan. Then, apology and gaslight combo. I didn't mean it like that. You're taking it way out of context. And finally, blame transfer shot put. You always take things so literally. You don't get my sense of humor. That's the problem. Oh yes, clearly, I'm the issue here. Silly me, not understanding the classic comedic trope of calling your husband a temporary financial crutch. But the damage was done. I'd heard it. Crystal clear. No denials. No, you misunderstood. No, I was drunk on kombucha and bad choices. She'd laid it out like it was gospel. Our marriage was just a placeholder, and I was the wallet with Wi-Fi. And now? Now she was getting a very vivid preview of what life looks like when that wallet cuts you off and changes the pin. While she cycled through every stage of the emotional meltdown spectrum, shock, confusion, rage, regret, bargaining, interpretive dance, I just sat on the couch. Calm, peaceful, like a man watching a YouTube video titled, How to Disassemble a Parasite with Legal Precision. Because here's the thing, she wasn't just losing a guy, she was losing the perks. The cozy little setup she'd been thriving in, funded by yours truly, was evaporating in real time. And that realization? That was hitting her harder than her iced vanilla latte without almond milk. The cherry on top? Her little brunch posse got front row seats to the implosion. Same women who'd laughed along with her about me being practice. They got to watch her face when her card got declined like she was trying to shop on store credit from the universe. Watching her squirm? That was justice, avocado toast style. So I gave her a deadline. Simple. Respectful. Landlord energy. 2 hours, I told her, motioning to the boxes like I was giving a TED talk on consequences. That's what I'd give any tenant not paying rent. After that, your stuff's on the curb and you can finish this breakdown somewhere else. That's when she switched tactics and tried pulling out the legal card, like it was Uno, and she had a reverse tucked up her sleeve. You can't kick me out, she yelled. This is my house too. I live here. I have rights. Cute. I pulled out my phone like I was about to check the weather, but instead brought up a PDF. Sure, I said, scrolling. Why don't you take a quick peek at the prenup you signed 3 years ago? Section 4. Paragraph 2. She snatched the phone like it held the answers to her now collapsing lifestyle. And oh, it did. That section clearly stated, in very plain, adult words, that the house remained my separate property. Didn't matter if we were married 5 weeks or 5 decades. This roof was legally, contractually, and unapologetically mine. Watching her read that document? Chef's kiss. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash made entirely of entitlement and denial. Her face went from, I'm the victim, to, I should have paid more attention in law school, in 5 seconds flat. She tried to argue, of course. Pulled the, I didn't really understand what I was signing routine like she was auditioning for a courtroom drama. You pressured me, she insisted. You rushed me into signing it. You never explained what it really meant. Uh-huh, sure. And I'm the tooth fairy. We both knew that wasn't true. My lawyer had explained everything in excruciating detail, twice. She even had her own lawyer look it over, which, let's be honest, she probably picked based on Yelp reviews and whether they had a wine bar in the waiting room. But the point is, she knew exactly what she was signing. She just didn't care back then because she thought she had me wrapped tighter than a burrito at Chipotle. That confidence vanished the moment legal reality slapped her in the face like a cold mimosa to the soul. And then, like a twist in a bad romantic comedy, came the waterworks. But not the usual, "Oh no, I scratched my Tesla" kind of tears. No, these were real deal, ugly, lip-quivering consequences have arrived tears. "I don't have anywhere to go," she sniffled. "All my friends have roommates or tiny apartments. I can't just move in with them." Ah yes, the universal cry of someone who's lived rent-free in a fantasy for too long. How am I supposed to find a place with no job and no savings? I shrugged, sipping my coffee like I was on a porch in a Clint Eastwood movie. "You probably should have thought about that before calling me practice." The clock was ticking. What happened next? I'll give her credit. It was genuinely impressive. Like, if being a spoiled freeloader doesn't work out, she might have a future in rapid response crisis logistics. As soon as she realized I wasn't bluffing, she flipped into go mode. Started frantically calling everyone in her contact list to see who could help her move or offer a couch that didn't already have 3 dogs and a roommate named Trevor. Meanwhile, she stomped up the stairs and started hurling clothes into suitcases like the closet had personally betrayed her. I could hear every phone call from downstairs, and let me tell you, gold. Because she couldn't exactly tell people, "Hey, I told my husband he was a temporary wallet and now he's divorcing me." So instead, she went with the classic. "We're just going through some irreconcilable differences." Right. Irreconcilable difference being, I thought we were in a real marriage. She thought she was starring in Keeping Up with the Contingency Plan. Some of her friends said they'd help, but you could tell they were baffled. Like, "Weren't you guys just at brunch this morning? What the hell happened in 4 hours?" Then she came downstairs, dragging 2 overstuffed suitcases behind her, plus a few random boxes that looked like she just swept her entire vanity into a tote bag. She stood in the middle of the living room, looked around like she was seeing it for the first time, and it finally hit her. This house, the one she'd treated like her own personal luxury resort for 3 years, was never going to be hers. She tried one last move. One last desperate, "Let me say something heartfelt, and maybe he'll melt" strategy. Standing there with mascara-smudged cheeks, she looked at me and said, "Nolan, this is crazy. We're throwing away 3 years of marriage over something stupid. People make mistakes, but they work through them. Together." I stared at her, calm, unshaken, holding a coffee mug that said *best husband, which, ironically, was true for at least one of us. "It's not stupid," I said. "It's honest. You finally told the truth about how you see me and our marriage." I stood up and gestured toward the door, as politely as a man who just handed someone their eviction notice wrapped in dignity. "I'm just acting on that information." What really broke her wasn't the prenup, or even the fact that her uber-luxe lifestyle had just been curbside boxed. It was the calm. She expected shouting, slammed doors, maybe some thrown furniture, and a dramatic, "How dare you" monologue. But I wasn't giving her a soap opera. This wasn't Days of Our Lives. This was terms and conditions, activated. I stayed cool, detached, like I was talking to a contractor who'd missed a deadline, not the woman who used to accidentally spend $400 at Sephora and act like I should be grateful for the points. This wasn't personal anymore. It was business. And business was closed. Then her ride showed up. And boy, did that add a lovely little twist of poetic irony. Kathy. Yep, that Kathy. Pulling up in some fancy SUV looking like she just realized her brunch buddy was now emotional toxic waste, and she'd agreed to transport it. The same girl who'd laughed about the practice husband, like it was the best line since Sly's sarcasm, was now watching the finale in surround sound. She barely got out of the car. Probably didn't want to risk being next. Alice, of course, had to take one final swing. Drama class, final exam. She stood there with her suitcases, bottom lip trembling like she was auditioning for a Hallmark redemption arc. "Nolan, please. Just reconsider. Give me one more chance. I love you. I do. I want to fix this. I want us to work." I looked at her. Not cold, not angry, just done. "Take care of yourself, Alice." Then I closed the door. And yeah, I watched through the window. I'm not heartless. I'm just thorough. Saw Kathy awkwardly popping the trunk while Alice loaded her shame next to the yoga mat she hasn't used since 2019. Then the car disappeared around the same corner where this whole mess started, when brunch became betrayal. For the first time in 3 years, my house sounded exactly like it should have all along, quiet. No reality TV voiceovers yelling from the living room. No influencer recaps. No spontaneous brainstorming sessions about how we really deserve a vacation to Santorini because self-care is a priority. Just me, my pizza, and the luxurious sound of absolutely freaking nothing. Sunday morning, I woke up like I'd finally taken off a backpack I didn't know I was wearing. Slept like a rock. No midnight anxiety. No passive-aggressive sighs from the other side of the bed. Just peaceful, solo, adult freedom. Then around noon, buzz. The phone lights up. Alice's mom. Of course. Honestly, I should have expected it. But I'd been so deep in prenups, account closures, and emotionally controlled mic drops that I hadn't prepped for Diane, mother-in-law edition. I answered, mostly because I figured it was better to get it over with. Like ripping off a judgmental, over-perfumed Band-Aid. And she did not disappoint. Skipped the greeting altogether and went straight into turbo mode. What the hell is wrong with you, Nolan? Alice showed up here, crying her eyes out. You kicked her out. For what? No reason. After everything she's done for you. Oh yes. Classic concerned mother tone. Somewhere between scolding a teen for wrecking the car and a judge sentencing a war criminal. Apparently, in the alternate universe that Alice now resided in, I had lost my mind over some completely innocent comment she made during girl talk, and just, poof, decided to end our marriage out of nowhere. Funny how Alice's version of events left out just a few minor details. You know, like calling me her practice husband and openly admitting she couldn't leave me because I pay for literally everything. Just little things. Barely worth mentioning, right? So, I asked her mom, real calm-like, did Alice happen to mention the part where she called me practice? Or said she was only sticking around because I pay for her lifestyle? Her mom gave this dismissive little huff, like I just asked her if Alice left the cap off the toothpaste. Oh, Nolan, don't be dramatic. It was just something she said to her friends. Girl talk. Nothing serious. Ah yes, girl talk. The diplomatic immunity of relationship sabotage. So, I spelled it out for her. Slowly, like I was teaching a very defensive parent how cause and effect works. Your daughter told her friends, while I was cooking them dinner in my house, that I'm her practice husband, that she's biding her time until someone better comes along, and she can't leave yet because I pay for everything. There was a pause. About 10 seconds of stunned, dial-tone silence. And then, well, girls say things. That's just girl talk. You can't destroy a marriage over girl talk. Oh really? I must have missed the Hallmark card that said, "Happy anniversary to my practice husband. Don't worry, it's just girl talk." I told her flatly, no anger, no theatrics. Watch me. Boom. That did it. She launched into full-on moral outrage mode, sounding like she'd just watched me steal Christmas from under their family tree. You're being cruel and vindictive, Nolan. She made a mistake, but she loves you. You're supposed to work through this. Marriage is about communication, compromise, forgiveness. You're just giving up at the first sign of trouble, right? Because accidentally calling your husband practice in front of your friends is the same as forgetting to pick up almond milk from Trader Joe's. The part that really got under my skin was how she kept using the word mistake. Like this wasn't her daughter's fully formed, thoroughly expressed worldview. Like Alice had just tripped and fallen face first into demeaning her marriage. So I said, no, this wasn't a mistake. This was her being honest. That's how she sees me. Not as a partner, but as a stepping stone. She doesn't love me. She loves my bank account. There's a massive difference. Her mom didn't love that answer. Suddenly, I was the villain in some Lifetime movie, with her threatening to ruin my reputation like we were back in high school. If you don't take Alice back, people are going to find out what kind of man you really are. The kind who abandons a woman when she needs support. Who throws away a good marriage over his own ego. Oh no, not my ego. Heaven forbid I object to being financially exploited and emotionally demoted to a placeholder husband with a rewards program. That's when I'd heard enough. Good luck with that strategy, I said, and hung up. Then I blocked her number. Because honestly, I don't need to be lectured about what a terrible person I am for not wanting to be called practice. About an hour after I got done blocking Alice's mom and reclaiming a sliver of my sanity, guess who lit up my phone? Her dad. Because apparently, nothing says mature family response like the full blitzkrieg treatment. Only, instead of guilt-tripping me like his wife, this guy went full drill sergeant. You're a coward, Nolan. A coward. Real men don't run away from their marriages. Right. Because real men sit quietly while their wives call them placeholder husbands over pasta primavera. I tried, I really did, to explain the situation. Told him about what she said. How she literally called me her practice husband while shoveling in garlic bread I paid for. Didn't matter. I don't want to hear your excuses. Marriage is about loyalty. You made vows. Cool. Well, so did she. Right before announcing to her friends that I was basically the tutorial level before she unlocked her real relationship. But sure, I'm the one dishonoring the sacred institution of marriage. Apparently, the only thing weaker than my commitment was my masculinity. According to Alice's dad, I was being selfish and soft. Probably wanted me to hand in my man card and go apologize barefoot in the rain with a boombox. Blocked him too, not out of spite, just for the sake of my blood pressure. Then came the texts from Alice's sister. And oh boy, did she bring the emotional prose. Long paragraphs. The kind of dramatic messages that make you scroll 5 times to reach the bottom. All about how disappointed she was, how I was breaking up the family, how Alice was devastated and I was destroying her life over. Wait for it, my ego. Because yes, clearly my ego was the problem. Not the part where her sister saw me as a financial pit stop on the way to hotter, richer, better. Blocked her too. That was the moment I realized I'd unintentionally started my own little block party. No snacks, no music, just the satisfying silence of not being bombarded with messages from people who didn't care what actually happened. They weren't mad about what Alice said. They were mad that I had the audacity to leave. By Sunday night, the scoreboard read, me, peace, and sanity. Them, group delusion. It wasn't that I couldn't take the criticism. I can take plenty. I just wasn't interested in having a roundtable discussion with people who thought calling your husband practice was the romantic equivalent of leaving your socks on the floor. I mean, according to them, I was supposed to just shrug it off and ask if she wanted dessert with her disrespect. Then Monday rolled around. And just when I thought the storm had passed, I got the call from my parents. My mom answered first. Voice soft, cautious, like she was worried I might be crying into a tub of ice cream and watching sad movies in sweatpants. Hey sweetheart, are you doing okay? We heard about you and Alice. Your uncle Gerald called after talking to Diane, who apparently told your cousin Melissa. And then, well, you know how families are. Yes, unfortunately, I do know. So I took a deep breath and laid it all out for them. From the infamous practice husband brunch incident to her financial parasitism, and the whole blame Nolan tore her family had been running since Saturday afternoon. There was a pause. Then my dad, stoic, even-keeled, man of few words, goes, "Good for you." Just like that. No lecture. No guilt. Just validation wrapped in dad tone. He even admitted they'd never liked how Alice treated me. Always acted like she was too good for us. Too good for you. Like she was doing you a favor by marrying you. My mom jumped in, and let me tell you, the floodgates opened. We held our tongues for 3 years, Nolan. 3 years. Because you seemed happy. But that girl, she was using you. They said they'd seen it from day one. Alice's attitude, her entitled air, the subtle way she acted like marrying me was charity work, but they didn't want to interfere in my marriage. And honestly, I appreciated that. It's nice to have support from people who actually care about me instead of launching into full DEFCON. 1, because Princess credit limit got cut off. My dad even asked if I needed anything. Offered to come stay with me for a few days, help around the house, maybe make sure I didn't start rewatching Friends as a cry for help. But I told him thanks. Really, I was doing okay. Better than okay. I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. Like a houseplant that had finally been moved out of the shade and was now growing aggressively toward the sun. For the first time in years, I could just exist. No passive-aggressive sighs when I bought generic cereal. No lectures about how the living room lacked aesthetic flow. No $300 impulse candle purchases from boutique wellness brands. Just peace, pizza, and whatever the hell I wanted to watch on Netflix. That call with my parents made something click. The people who knew me, really knew me, weren't shocked by any of this. They'd been watching Alice treat me like a debit card with feelings for 3 solid years. But they kept their mouths shut out of respect for my choices. Because that's what actual love looks like. Quiet support until you ask for help, not a group ambush over Eggs Benedict. Meanwhile, Alice's family was out here acting like I'd kicked a puppy on Christmas. Not because they thought I was wrong, mind you, but because their family's all-access pass to my bank account had just expired. To them, I wasn't a person with boundaries. I was a subscription that had suddenly canceled itself with no warning. That contrast told me everything I needed to know. I hadn't made the wrong choice. I'd just waited way too long to make the right one. My family. Relieved. Supportive. Probably planning a small party. Her family. Furious that I'd interrupted the gravy train with pesky things like self-respect and prenups. The next day, I did a few symbolic but satisfying things. Changed my relationship status on social media from married to practiced and perfected. Updated my emergency contacts at work from Alice to my dad. Because if I'm ever unconscious in a hospital, I'd prefer someone who doesn't view me as a stepping stone to real estate in Malibu. They were small steps. Little admin chores, really. But each one felt like I was officially reclaiming my life. Like I was Nolan, now featuring dignity and password control. By the end of the week, the dust had mostly settled. 3 weeks. 3 whole weeks of beautiful silence. I'd almost started to believe maybe Alice had found a sliver of self-awareness and decided to spare us both further drama. Foolish, I know. I was in the garage, headphones in, sanding the hell out of an old coffee table like it owed me money when the doorbell rang. I hit pause, wiped the sawdust off my hands, and wandered to the front door expecting maybe a package or, at worst, a Jehovah's Witness with a clipboard and too much time. Nope. There she was, Alice, standing on my porch like it was just a casual Saturday and she hadn't been excommunicated from my entire life. But wait, it gets better. She wasn't alone. Right beside her was this dude, tall, freshly shaved, smelling faintly of cologne and generational wealth. The kind of guy whose skincare routine involves 5 steps and a subscription. He had that smug, I got promoted twice for doing absolutely nothing energy. Designer jeans, loafers with no socks, you know the type, and a shirt so crisp it looked like it had its own trust fund. And they were holding hands, fingers laced like middle schoolers in heat, because apparently the goal was to sear my eyeballs with secondhand smugness. I opened the door slowly, mostly because I didn't want to slam it too early and miss whatever soap opera-level plot twist was about to happen. Alice beams at me like we're still married and planning a summer barbecue. Nolan, I wanted to introduce you to Jonathan, she says. All chirpy and saccharine like this was brunch and not the scene of her last known financial collapse. We've been dating, and I just thought it was important you meet him since we're still finalizing the divorce. The guy, Jonathan, apparently, looked like he'd rather be getting a root canal in a dentist's basement than standing on my porch holding Alice's hand. You know that strained half-smile people give when they're trying not to scream? That was his whole face. Dude clearly thought this was going to be a 5-minute errand to grab a sweater or some lost jewelry, not a rerun of the Real Housewives of Suburban Disaster. I stood there, leaning against the doorframe, wondering if I should offer them popcorn or just let the awkwardness simmer. After a beat, I asked, real casual, so, did you come here just to tell me you're dating now? Or is there a casserole involved? Jonathan blinked like he'd just been slapped with a wet sock. His head turned to Alice, slow and stiff, like he was trying not to give himself whiplash. You could see the gears turning. And then he asked it, the question that shattered the entire high-budget illusion. Wait, you told me we were just coming to pick something up. What is this? Boom. Alice froze. She did that thing where her eyes dart around like she's searching for a script, but the teleprompter just went blank. I just thought it would be good for Nolan to see how well I'm doing, she said, which, for the record, is the worst PR strategy I've ever witnessed. Jonathan's face went from confused to pissed in under 3 seconds. Are you serious right now? He said, voice rising just enough to let me know this was his first experience with Alice's nonsense. You brought me here to show off? What the hell? She tried to salvage it, classic Alice, mumbling about how he misunderstood and it wasn't like that, even though it was exactly like that. He just stared at her like she'd turned into a sentient red flag. And then came the grand finale. Jonathan let go of her hand like it was radioactive, took 1 step back, shook his head, and said, no, you can find your own way home. He turned, walked back to his luxury SUV, and drove off, leaving Alice standing on my porch looking, well, exactly like someone who just used her new boyfriend as a prop and got caught mid-scene. Just standing there, all alone, looking stupid while he drove away. The whole circus? Lasted 3 minutes, tops. That was her entire master plan. Drive over with Mr. Banana Republic, flex her new happy life, and wait for me to crumble into tears of regret. Instead, her show imploded like a bad high school play with a missing cast and broken spotlight. And now, there she was, standing on my porch, no ride, no backup, and definitely no dignity. Are you happy now? She snapped, arms crossed like I'd just canceled Christmas. And I just stared at her. Like, was I supposed to apologize that her plan went up in flames? Was I supposed to be the emotional concierge, ready to book her a return trip to Delusionville? She didn't even wait for me to answer before pulling out her next move, her Hail Mary of desperation. She looked me dead in the eye, all serious-like, and said, okay, fine. I'm single now. Let's just get back together. We can start over and pretend none of this ever happened. I swear I almost choked. 3 years of marriage where I was apparently just a human debit card with a pulse. She literally called me practice, like I'm a warm-up lap before the race that actually matters. Then she drags some guy to my house to show off, lies to him about why they're here, gets dumped on my doorstep, and now I'm the consolation prize? And the wild part? She meant it. Like I should be honored, that she was willing to return to planet me now that her little orbit around upgrade dude had crashed into the sun. I laughed, out loud, like actual, doubled over, can't catch my breath kind of laughter. I was still laughing when I slowly, deliberately, closed the door in her face. Click. Just like that. That's when she went full meltdown. Started yelling through the door like a banshee in a Hallmark movie gone rogue. "You're making a mistake. We belong together." All those lines she probably picked up from a rom-com where the manipulative ex gets a redemption arc. She banged on the door, rang the bell, banged again, like this was going to unlock some kind of secret passageway to forgiveness. I popped in my noise-canceling headphones, best $299 I ever spent, and went back to working on the coffee table. Eventually, she gave up. I watched from the living room window as she stood there awkwardly scrolling through her phone, probably texting everyone in her contacts who hadn't already blocked her. Must have been a fun conversation. "Hey, can you come pick me up from my ex-husband's house?" I tried to ambush him with my new boyfriend, and now I'm stranded. Real Hallmark moment. A car finally pulled up. No idea who it was. Probably someone from the We Ignore Red Flags Together club, and off she went, slinking into the passenger seat like a raccoon caught tipping over someone's trash can. I didn't wave. I just watched her disappear again around the same corner where this entire saga started. Fitting, really. That was 2 months ago. Not a peep since. Silence is golden, and in this case, blissfully quiet. Though, because people can't keep their mouths shut, I did hear from a mutual friend that she's now back living with her parents and working some retail job at the mall. Which, hey, maybe character building. The whole aspiring influencer with no income stream gig hits different when there's no husband footing the brunch bill. Meanwhile, things on my end. Let's just say the upgrade is real. Got promoted last month. Turns out, when you're not constantly drained by emotional leeching, your productivity skyrockets. I'm even thinking of getting a dog. You know, someone who actually appreciates my company, doesn't call me practice, and will never ask me to fund their Instagram aesthetic. Might take a few cooking classes too. Learn to make something that doesn't involve dumping sauce from a jar and calling it dinner. Maybe travel. Go someplace I actually want to visit, not just wherever looks best in filtered sunset selfies with fake candid laughter. It's funny how things work out. She said I was practice until she found someone better. Turns out, I was practiced too. Practice for being the kind of man who doesn't put up with being treated like a backup plan. She practiced being terrible at marriage, and I practiced ignoring red flags. Now we're both practicing being single. Except I'm way better at it than she is. Guess practice really does make perfect after all. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.